Sense. All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, the Mashiach. Yahweh shall we know as Jesus Christ. And salute to all the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners, teaching His word with sincerity and charity. We're gonna go over this Persian captivity a little bit today. It's very, very lengthy. So I'm gonna try to read through some of this stuff pretty swiftly. Because we have a lot to go over. So man, let's just go ahead and just get right into it, man. I'm not even because we got so much going on. I'm just gonna go ahead and start this thing up. All right. The Persians. Shalom, brother Eleazar.
Hey, shalom, brother. How you doing, brother?
Trying to make it.
Hey, Shalakia.
Go ahead, brother.
I don't mean to get out topic, man, but I know you're going into the Persian captivity, man. I mean the Persian captivity, man. But I just see your brother, man, on Deacon Destruction, bro.
Yeah.
The big, with that with Pastor Mama. You seen that video?
Who
On Berean, Pastor Mama.
Elder Mike. I mean no, you talking about the Elder Green.
Elder Green, yeah, kind.
Yeah. That's what I remember. I was telling you about. They was going about that same incident, and they was going back and forth. And go ahead, though. What you finna say about it?
It's not really about the video. It's about Deacon was going over it. He was reviewing the video, and so Israelite brother from the church of Maccabees got in there and started debating them. And it's just that Israel don't want to be challenged, man. To say the least, man. I mean, I don't. You watch the video, man. He just cut the brother off. Hung up on the brother because the brother was trying to make some point. Never let the guy a chance, and just let the brother bring out his text. And that's problematic, man. Then he started trying to belittle the brother, talking about how many views you got and all this stuff. And I thought we hate Esau, man. I just don't understand, man. We know in one breath, the white man, but then in another breath, we want to talk about the views and all that stuff, man. Well, Shalaki, man. I had to get off my chest, brother. I just had to get off my chest. Shalaki, brother.
Tell us, man. Sometimes the videos vex you, man, and it end up, controlling your conversations and what you teach. Yes. And that's why I have a lot of videos on Israel, because I watch a lot of Israel. And I started to realize that, like, yeah, that's probably why I keep banging like that, because I keep letting them videos vex me.
Yeah.
But nah, man, you gotta speak it out. I'm glad you got it off.
Yeah, man, it's real, man. We gotta kill that pride, man.
Church of Maccabees, is that a new group or?
I don't know. He was in Deacon comment board, and Deacon brought him on, and they started debating, and then he told the brother, "I'm gonna let you bring out the text," and then, so he actually lied. You know what I mean? He told the brother he was gonna bring out the text, and then he hung up on him. You know what I mean? Because the guy was trying to show him that because they was debating about can Gentiles have a place in the kingdom, and so yeah, so he was finna show him places where the Gentiles gonna be able to come in and have a place in the kingdom, and he hung up on him. But it's on the deacon. As a matter of fact,
it's a little short. It's a reel.
Nah, it's he's actually reviewing the video with on Berean, but so he live now. I was watching him before I got on with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he live now. All praise. I got love for my brothers, man, but we just need to stop, brother.
Yeah, we, like I said, we say it. Those dealing with honor and sincerity, man. Just gotta be sincere with this thing. What are we really trying to do? Shalom, Sister Salisha.
Yeah, but I brother. I
I gotta check that thing out later, man. If I get a chance. The Persians are looking to our captivity in Persia. Herodotus is he is one of those historians. All right, he is one of those ancient historians. Name will come up. Ignatius, Josephus, um, somebody else. It's one or two more, but he's one of them. Name will pop up. All right, Herodotus is one of those historians. They called him the father of history. Let me see if I can zoom this thing in a little bit. So I can see father history of a title conferred on him by the esteemed ancient Roman orator Cicero. But he's one of those names that'll pop up, especially, he gives detailed accounts of views regarding the Greco-Persian wars. All right, so after the Persians, you had the they end up getting conquered by the Greeks. All right, here comes the Persians. We're just gonna breeze through chapter 5 and 1 through 6 real quick. Hold on, let me see if I can share my screen. What I said, Daniel 5.
I can read for you.
Come through water.
You said Daniel 5?
Daniel 5. I'm gonna read the whole chapter.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get it real quick. Okay, Daniel 5, start at verse 1.
Okay.
All right, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 5 and verse 1. It said, Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the thousands. And Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessel which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein.
Hey, Shalakia, you know how you take out that good? You had somebody back in the day. See, that's how we just, man, we had things. We worked hard and we really wanted to preserve things. We really put value on certain things, but you didn't bring out them good dishes until you had company over, man. You had some special guests over. And this is the end of the Babylonian, kind of nearing the end of the Babylonian captivity. And so Nebuchadnezzar, he's gone. The sons is involved, and they having a good time. He got all his lords, but his underling. But they got some kind of power. He got all of them, man. They having a great feast with the wine. They said, man, bring out them good dishes that we got out there from them Jews, man. Bring out some of them good dishes that they brought out, man. Grandma used to have that. Yeah, that furniture with the plastic on it.
Yeah, man.
And it had remember he had that plastic just running down the hallway, man. It was like it was something for you to stop stepping on the carpet.
The runner. He's called it the runner. Yeah.
The runner.
Yeah, man. Protect the carpet, man, at all costs.
Woo.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Ooh, shalom, brother Michael.
Hey, shalom, family.
Hey, shalom, brother Mike. How you doing, brother?
All right. Heard y'all talking about that furniture.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's the good furniture, man.
Yeah, you been on that sofa swinging or something.
Yeah, man. It's sticking out to your leg.
I'm telling you, boy. Man. But they because they work so hard now, and it was worth something. Now today, man, you got to buy furniture almost every 2-3 years, man. You start sinking in this furniture now in the first year.
Man,
You got to flip the pillows and
man.
try to move over somewhere else.
And we was talking about the mattress of those days, man. The beds, the way they made them back in those days. You go your mama room or your grandma room, man. You just sinked inside the mattress. It's just but these mattresses today, man, they just don't create it the same, brother.
Yeah. There's real fellas and stuff in them mattress and them pillows, man.
Yes.
Grandma bed too was about 4 foot high.
You had to jump up in it, brother.
Had to get a running start to get in that thing, boy.
Yes.
Oh man.
But yeah, they got these, so these things had to be of great value. And a thing renowned by the world that that the Babylonians have preserved these things and brought them out for this great feast. Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 3. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princess, his wife, his concubines drink in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. Verse 5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plastery of the walls of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that were wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another.
He was terrified. And what's the breakdown? Brothers try to make everything literal. Well, not literal. Try to spiritualize everything. What's the breakdown for the hand?
Yeah. Hey, Beetlejuice, brother.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Every time I read it. Was that the Addams family?
The Addams family, yeah. Yeah.
That's what I see. And that's what it looked like this king see, man. Shaking in his boots. Go ahead, Op.
I was just gleaming on that verse 6. It say the joints of his loin were loose. I seen the movie the other night, man, where Joker was jacked up. And you seen that yellow stuff running out his pant leg.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, he don't, in other words, he don't crap himself. And then he was knocking. That mean he was scared.
Scared to death, man. And you was just in the middle of a great party, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
You just having a great time. Now the hand that came out, you done used the bathroom on yourself, knees knocking. Go ahead, Shalaki.
Verse 7. It said the king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said unto the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read these writings and show me the interpretations thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Verse 8. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writings, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was the king Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house, And the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. There is a man in thy kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods, and in the days of thy father's light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I said, thy father made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of heart sentences and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Balshach, what is that? Baltazar.
Belt.
Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read these writings and make known unto me the interpretations thereof, but they could not show the interpretations of the things. And I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now, if thou canst read the writings and make known to me the interpretations thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let thy gift be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writings unto the king and make known to him the interpretations. And Shalakia, and that's how many of us willing to do that right now in this kingdom?
Taking the chain, man. Gold
Yeah, we're gonna
chain,
take
and
Shalakia. I would just say,
give me the chain, man. Give me the chain, make me a ruler, man.
let me rule it, man.
Mm.
Come, verse 18. O thy king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and language trembled and feared before him, whom he would, he slew, and whom he kept alive, and whom he set up, and whom he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Verse 21, and was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was the wild asses. They fed him with grass like ox, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thy heart. Though thou knowest all this, but has lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, thy concubines have drank wine in them, and thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which seest not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, has thou not glorified. And that's a cold cut, man. Because we right now we talk about the Babylonians, and Daniel telling you that this God is the same God that wake you up. The Israelite God is the same God that that's dealing with the Babylonians, man. Okay, verse 24. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written: Mean, Tekel, Apaharazan. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mean, God have numbered the kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in balance and are found wanting. Paris, the kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persian. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In the night of Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Darius the Medes took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
All right, so that, just long story short, the hand came in, gave them the writing. Daniel came in, he interpreted it for him, told him, man, listen, your father had to be humbled. Nebuchadnezzar. If you read earlier, Nebuchadnezzar ended up being humbled by the Most High. He made him go crazy for 7 years, where he was out there in the middle of in the wilderness, eating grass like a cow and eating grass like a wild animal. Nails had done it grown, all kind of foolishness, until he was humbled. And we see a lot in the text about these nations operating in pride, and how they'll be brought down for doing that. And again, this is another situation of them operating in pride. Brung out the vessels, and you let the concubines drink out of these things that were sanctified, that were supposed to be holy inside of the temple. And y'all drinking these things, having a good time. You still in the same pride of your father. And so here's the message: all right, y'all gonna be destroyed. And it was an instant. They didn't even get to finish them drinks. They were killed in that night. Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius, the king of the Median, took the kingdom at 62 years old.
And Shalakia,
Go ahead, brother.
and that Darius, man, that's the same. If y'all remember the movie 300, man, the one that was looking all funny with the eyeliner on and all that stuff, that's the same Darius that was over the Persian Medes, man. But I yield, brother.
Yeah, and he at that point he had done rallied up some troops. He had different nations, different sects that they had already done conquered. He was trying to, eventually taking over that world domination. Until he ended up meeting them other folks. We're gonna read Daniel 1-6 also. I mean this chapter 6, 1-6 or 1-7.
God. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 1. It pleased Darius to sit over the kingdom, 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the president and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no occasion nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there in the error of fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, and the princes, the counselors, and the captains, have consulted together to establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree, that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions.
And that's it. But and we need to really, we need to do a class on that also, man. I know we know these stories, but sometimes we got to go back over these things and look at things maybe we gleaned that we might have missed. But we did, we put this in here just to see that Daniel ended up getting put over, pretty much the whole realm. We was talking about Darius, but Darius selected 120 kings. He prince, to rule over 120 princesses, and established Daniel to be over all of them. And of course, these folks ended up getting salty about that, and they want to find fault with Daniel. Let me stop sharing here and go back here. Just a little of Persian religion before Islam, pretty much. It says Zoroastrianism, or Mazdayasna, is one of the world's oldest continuously practiced religions, based on the teachings of the Iranian-speaking prophet Zoroaster, Avastan, or Zorstas in modern Persian. Zoroastrianism has a dualistic cosmologically, what's that word there? Dualistic cosmologically. It's not cosmologically. Cosmology. Thank you. Give me right. Of good and evil, and an eschatology predicting the ultimate conquest of evil by good. Zoroastrianism exalts an uncreated and benevolent deity of wisdom, Ahura Mazda, as its supreme being. The unique historical features of Zoroastrianism, such as its monotheism, messianism, judgment after death, heaven and hell, and free will, may have influenced other religions or other religious and philosophical systems, including Second Temple Judaism, Gnosticism, Greek philosophy, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i faith, Buddhism, with possible roots dating back to 2nd millennium BCE. Zoroastrianism enters written history in the 5th century BCE. It has served as a state religion of the ancient Iranian empires for more than a millennium, from around 600 BCE to 650 CE, but declined from the 7th century CE onwards, following the Muslim conquests of Persia of 633 to 654, and subsequent persecution of the Zoroastrian people. Recent estimates place the current number of Zoroastrians at around 110,000, 120,000 at most, with majority living in India, Iran, and North America. Their number has been thought to be declining. Pretty much is just like supposed to be one of the oldest monotheistic one God religious systems that end up coming in. Some of that artwork. Sometimes you'll see some of this stuff with the Persians. That stuff, a lot of this stuff still sitting out here. Cyrus the Great. This is how we're gonna be talking about in the Bible. Cyrus was famous for freeing the Jewish captives in Babylonia and allowing them to return to their homeland. Cyrus was also tolerant toward the Babylonians and others. He consolidated local populations by supporting local customs and even sacrificing the local deities. The capture of Babylon delivered not only Mesopotamia into the hands of Cyrus, but also Syria and Palestine, which had been conquered previously by the Babylonians. The ruler of Sicilia in ancient Asia Minor had become an ally of Cyrus when later marched against Corus, and Sicilia retained a special status as Cyrus in Cyrus' empire. Thus, it was a diplomacy as well as force of arms that established the largest empire known until his time. After Nebuchadnezzar's death, 2 Kings, we're going to run through this real quick. 2 Kings 25, 27 through 29, it says, "And it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon," it's crazy to see what that name means. Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, he did lift up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, out of prison. And he spake kindly to him and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garments and did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. But you had to go back, and again, if we revisit this, we'll go back and see those steps with but that's kind of dealing with the Babylonian captivity and how those things transpire. There's a tablet here, clay tablet, the Akkadian cuneiform inscription lists certain rations, mentions the name of Jehoiachim or Jeconiah, the king of Judah in the Babylonian captivity from Babylon. So you have archaeological proof too, where they wrote a tablet giving the description of the rations that they were giving the prisoners with Judah being captive then. And then you have this verse here about him changing his prison garments, and he did eat bread continually. And you got a tablet here to acknowledge that also. Jeremiah 29:10, it says, "For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place." And we did return to the place, but we had a couple stops before we got there. So we just read how Babylon, we was in the Babylonian captivity where it ended. We kind of went straight into the Persian Mede captivity with the Medes conquering Persians, Darius coming into rulership, and then ultimately Cyrus come into play. We'll see this here in Ezra 1. We're gonna read 1 through verse 11, if somebody can read that for me.
You said Ezra?
Ezra.
Yeah.
Ezra 1 and 1 through 11.
Shalaki. You got your apocrypha?
No.
Ezra. Oh, Ezra.
Yeah, come.
I got you.
Okay, come.
Well, apocrypha same thing, but I want Ezra.
Yeah, come.
This is the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. "Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia."
They had to go Shalaki. Yeah, I meant to go back and look for that, but that's just something to note. Somebody can do some homework by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. If we can find where that prophecy at by Jeremiah. I don't have it in the class though, but that was just something I looked at when I was going back through the class. I did this a while ago. When I was going back through, I seen that. I said, let's see where that's being fulfilled by the mouth of Jeremiah. But anyway, that's just a side note, side quest for anybody, any heart that's willing. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he have charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver, and with gold, and with goods, and with beasts, besides the freewill offering from the house of God that is in Jerusalem. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah, and Benjamin, and the priests, and the Levites, with all them whose spirit God had raised, to go up to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. And all that they were about them strengthened their hands with vessels of silver, with gold, with goods, and with beasts, and with precious things, beside all that was willingly offered. Also Cyrus the king brought forth the vessels of the house of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem, and had put them in the house of his gods. Even those did Cyrus the king of Persia bring forth by the hand of Merodach, the treasurer, and numbered them unto Sheshbazzar, the prince of Judah. And this is the number of them: 30 charges of gold, 1,000 charges of silver, 29 knives, 30 basins of gold, 7 basins of a second sort, 410, and other vessels 1,000. All the vessels of gold and silver were 5,400. All these were Sheshbazzar bring up with them of the captivity that were brought up from Babylon into Jerusalem.
So they leaving out, and we see the Cyrus, the king of Persia, saying that the Lord has charged me, that Yahweh has charged me. He done charged me with rebuilding his house. And also we see the spirit being rose up in those who wanted to return back and to do that exact mission. And so he gave commission for all those who needed, who was around, that could help, that could give gold, silver, so forth, and all their vessels that they had, that the Babylonians had took from the temples. All that stuff being returned also. Let's look at 2 Chronicles chapter 36, 22 and 23. This is pretty much the same account, just another viewpoint.
Okay, you said 2 Chronicles chapter 22?
Chapter 36, verse 22 and 23.
36, 22. Chapter 36, verse 22 and 23. All right. And it says, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, Cyrus, the king of Persia, that the word of the Lord spoke by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a publication throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth have the Lord God of heaven given me, and he have charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up.
All right, who is it? Where are you jokers at? Who are you? Who is his people among us? Y'all get up and y'all gone back, man. Y'all gone and get this done. He charged me with it. Y'all go over there. Let's get this thing done. And to note that all these kingdoms of all the kingdoms under the heaven have been given to me by your God.
Lord in Christ.
The shepherd king. Let's look at Isaiah 44 and 28. Isaiah 44 and 28. And 45 and 1.
I got 45 and 1. All right.
God. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 44, and verse 28. It says, that saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. Even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple, thy foundation shall be laid.
All right. He is my shepherd, and he gonna perform my pleasure. He gonna build that temple and lay that foundation. Verse 1. Isaiah 45 and 1.
This is Isaiah 45 and 1. Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the lions of kings, the shlakin, lions of loins of kings,
loins
of kings, to open before him the 2 leavened gates, and the gate shall not be shut.
And this verse here, well, you know, we got to deal with the fact of him being anointed, you know, whose right hand he's holding, and he subdued nations. And we see the same thing. It's almost like a type for the Messiah, who will subdue nations. All right, and loose the loins of kings, and we see these gates again. All right, and the gate shall not be shut. You know, we see that speech in when we're dealing with eschatology, about those gates shall not be shut. It's almost a type or a foreshadow. And to Christ, what does Christ mean?
Christ mean anointed.
Anointed. So he's calling Cyrus a Christ, a shepherd king, one who subdue nations, and again, it's just a type for that true shepherd king, the real Messiah when he comes. But Israel did see him as a Messiah. Like they kind of seen him as a Messiah, and you could tell by the speech that they're using here when they're writing about him, and then him being written in Ezra, he being written about in Chronicles, he being written about in Isaiah, and you know, prophesied by Jeremiah. Brief history of human rights in 539 BC. The armies of Cyrus the Great, the first king of ancient Persia, conquered the city of Babylon, but it was not. But it was his next action that marked a major advance of man. He freed the slaves, declared that all people had the right to choose their own religion, and established racial equality. These and other decrees were recorded on a baked clay cylinder in the Akkadian language with cuneiform script, known today as the Cyrus cylinder. This ancient record has now been recognized as the world's first charter of human rights. It is translated into all 6 official languages of the United Nations, and its provisions parallel the first 4 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. From Babylon, the ideal of human rights spread quickly to India, Greece, eventually Rome. Natural law rose in observation. That's pretty much all we got on that. But what he did, they still kind of base off of today, even America. This is why you can have, jokers can worship anything here, but that's something that has to be developed. That ain't something that's normal. Most times you get conquered, this is all you dealing with. And us being colonized, it was like that too. You know what I'm saying? But now you kind of have some kind of rights where you could worship a giraffe if you want to. Ain't nobody supposed to say anything to you. The cupbearer plea, Nehemiah chapter 2, we're gonna read 1 through 8. And we'll see Nehemiah trying to go down and get this thing built also.
Con. It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 12th year of
Artaxerxes,
the king, that wine was before him, and I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before time sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, Why is thou countenance sad, saying thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid, and said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, laid waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, For what doest thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said unto the king, If it please the king, and if the servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldst send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall thy journey be? And when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I sent him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, If it please the king, let letters be given to me, to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Judah. And they led unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which pertain to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me, according to the good hands of my God upon me. Then I said to the governors beyond the river, and gave them the king's letter. Now the king had sent captains and an army of horsemen with me. When
Shalaki, that's it. We just wanted to just see Nehemiah pleading with the king. The cupbearer's plea. He pouring these folks wine, and we seen Cyrus, release people and let them go. And some of us stayed back. And wanted to kick the bobo a little bit. I ain't gonna be hard on. I was hard on him before that we had a conversation properly when I was going in on Nehemiah, but he out there just giving them wine, man, and eventually he had a plea cry to go out and help Israel rebuild their walls in the temple. Deuteronomy 4 and 6, and then we'll go to the next slide.
Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 6. And it reads, it says, Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
And we just read proof, a couple of lessons on that are proof that that's what happens. Daniel is evident that what happens if you're keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. in the sight of these nations, even in your captivity. If we operated under these laws, statutes, and commandments, or if we operated out of love thy neighbor as thyself and have no other God, we would have that other nations would see us that way. But that's really evident also that we're not operating in that capacity. Like we far from it. They're not looking at us that way, and it's because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. But we see this with Daniel, we see this with Nehemiah, we see this with Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, and just the fact that these folks were elevated. They were elevated to certain positions, even in those captivities. And ultimately, some of these folks were even used by the Most High. Some of these heathens were even used by the Most High, and helped him understand who really in power. Returning exiles eager for the law. Let's look at Ezra 1 and 6. Ezra 3, I'm sorry. Ezra chapter 3 and verse 1 through 6.
God, it's the book of Ezra, chapter 3, verse 1. And when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. Then stood by Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and his brethren, and build the altar of the God of Israel, to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. And they set the altar upon his basis, for fear was upon them because the people of those countries, and they offer burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offerings, morning and evening. They kept also the feast of tabernacles, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offering by number, according to the custom, as the duty of every day required. And afterward offered the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated, and of every one that willingly offered a free will offering unto the Lord. From the first day of the 7th month began they to offer burnt offerings unto the Lord, but the foundations of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. They gave
So
money.
they they built that altar before they laid the foundation. And started having those burnt offerings. And you see too, a little fear was upon them because of the people of those countries was doing those offerings too. They might have felt they was gonna get in trouble, might have felt things was out of order, which they were. Because like I said, you ain't even laid the foundation yet, but we see the eagerness for them to go get back to the law, and not just and see, that's the thing when we say the law, because they're doing the things that are in the law, but it's not just broke down to, like, we have I think they called it what is that term they call for that, man? Something like a fallacy of equivocation or something like that, where they try to total everything together. When we say, every time we say law, you're putting all of it together. But we see what they're doing here. The first thing they're doing, they're trying to get back to these sacrifices. They're trying to find repentance, especially coming out of captivity, coming out of punishment. You're trying to find forgiveness. You're trying to heal yourself. You're trying to get back in good graces. So that's the first thing that you're going to try to do in that dispensation. Let's look at Ezra 10 and 3.
God.
Khan, you said Ezra 10-3?
Just that one verse there.
Khan. This is the book of Ezra, chapter 10 and verse 3. And it reads, Now therefore, let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the wise and such as are born of them, according to the counsel of my Lord, of those that trembled at the commandments of our God, and let it be done according to the law.
And us being here, man, you can't expect us not to do the same. Like, we did the same thing. We doing the same thing. We're getting wives outside of Israel, and we not making that kind of covenant. And even when they made this covenant, jokers really didn't do what they said they were gonna do. They really didn't go all in with what Ezra was saying. Some of them reneged on it. Nehemiah 13:19, we see it back to the Sabbath. Nehemiah 13:19.
God, it's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, verse 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gate should be shut and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants sit at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day.
And we also seen later, it might have been earlier, where Nehemiah was you finna put hands on these jokers because they were standing outside of the gates, or was trying to sneak in the gates, and try to sell and on the Sabbath. Artaxerxes, numerous scholars have proposed theories as to who Artaxerxes represents. Most scholars generally identify him with Xerxes the First, as did 19th century Bible commentaries. Three factors, among others, contribute to this identification. It is agreed that Hebrew Artaxerxes descended from the Persian name for Xerxes the First. Historian Herodotus describes Xerxes the First as being susceptible to women and in habit of making extravagant offers to them, just as he did to Esther. Up to half my kingdom. Herodotus mentions that the Persian Empire stretched from India to Ethiopia, and also refers to the magnificent royal palace in Shushan, Susa. Collaboration of what is stated in the book of Esther. In collaboration with what was stated in the book of Esther. In addition, Herodotus mentions an assembly of Persian nobles called by Xerxes to advise him on the proposed war against Greece. Although Herodotus does not give the location of this assembly, the day after Egypt was subdued corresponds to Xerxes' third year, when Esther records an assembly of Persian nobility at a feast. Herodotus also mentions that following his defeat at Salamis, Xerxes I became involved in harem intrigues involving his wife, a mistress, and his daughter-in-law, with whom he became enamored. I had to look that word up. Herodotus relates that this occurred in the 10th month of his 7th year as a king, the same time Artaxerxes was choosing beautiful women for his harem, in Esther chapter 2 and verse 16. Annals from the reign of Xerxes I mentions an otherwise unattested official by the name of Merdukka, which some have proposed refers to Mordecai, as both are mentioned serving in the king's courts. The Septuagint, Vulgate, the Midrash of Esther, Rabbi 1-3, and Joshapon identify the king as Artaxerxes I. And historian Josephus relates that this was the name by which he was known to the Greeks. The Ethiopic text calls him Articus, usually the Ethiopic equivalent of an Alexerxes. All right, so you see them. You see evidence of them being the same people. All right, just different name forms.
Lucky.
Go ahead, brother.
Enumerate. It means whip or total infatuation. Infatuated with, whip, love struck, captivated by. God,
so he was drunk. He was infatuated with his wife and daughter.
Crazy about it.
Yeah. And he was drunk. Esther had him drunk. We're not gonna go through Esther for time purposes. All right, just for time purposes, not gonna go through Esther. But we do need to. It's around that time. So we'll definitely try to put that on the calendar and get that down for the year out. Dealing with the story of Esther, but we won't do it today. We won't do it today. You see some of the kings of Persia. It's just like a timeline here. You see the 70-year captivity, and then we see the building of the temple here. The book of Ezra, the book of Esther kind of falls in there. Book of Nehemiah, then the book of Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Most of those what they called prophets, man. They try to distinguish them from the other ones, man. Minor prophets. What they consider the minor prophets, most of them are happening around this time. From Babylon to us, trying to reestablish the temple after we release from the Persians. All right, and then it goes silent. We just, unless you got the Apocrypha, you'll see the Greek, that Greco-Roman era. And then we get to the New Testament where we under that Roman captivity. But you have Cyrus, Darius comes in at Xerxes or Artaxerxes the first. And that's just a map just displaying that. All right. This is the decline of the Persian Empire since Darius III ruled as the final king of the Achaemenid dynasty of Persia, also known as Darius Condomanus. He began his reign in 336 BC over what would have been one of the greatest empires of Western Asia. Unfortunately, ineffective kings and multiple rebellions had steadily weakened the empire for nearly 100 years. Darius III was left with the task of strengthening the army to defend against Alexander the Great, who led a united Greece and of reorganizing of the government. With the end of both his short 6-year reign and the fall of the Persian Empire in 330, it was apparent that he had failed to complete these tasks. Darius III assumed the throne under questionable circumstances. His father, Arsames, was the nephew as Artaxerxes II, a eunuch named Bagoas poisoned both Artaxerxes II and III, who were princes next in line for the throne. Born with the name Condomanus, Darius III later adopted the name Darius as he assumed the throne at the age 45. Darius III then asserted his authority over Bagoas, who then attempted to poison him. Darius III fitting forced Bagoas to drink his own poison. Darius III's first major pursuit as king was to retake Egypt in 334. A previous revolt had left Egypt outside the control of the Persian Empire. Soon after, Alexander the Great and united Greece rose a considerable power. Darius III was ill prepared to battle the advancing Alexander and was defeated in the Battle of Issus. in 333. The wife and family left behind by the fleeing Darius III were supposedly treated well by Alexander the Great due to their royalty. Darius III then raised a second army and more carefully chose a location to combat the armies of Alexander the Great at the Battle of Gagamela in a present-day Iraq. Alexander the Great again defeated the Persian army while fleeing to the city Bactria. Darius III was killed by one of his own satraps, Bessus, who had been one of the commanders of the Persian forces. While the defeat of Darius III in the Persian Empire, with the defeat of Darius III in the Persian Empire, Alexander gained control of the entire Mediterranean coast. You can see the timeline here. It's again just a timeline of how those things played out. Those Persian kings, all the way to them meeting Alexander the Great in 330. All right, and with that, that was the last slide, my good people. I appreciate y'all hanging in. I know a lot of reading and going on, but sometimes just us just knowing just a little basic, just us knowing just a little bit, maybe having a little timeline that we can research, you can understand these things a little better, how these captivities were operating. And most of these kingdoms come down because of the inner workings. You know, even 70 AD, you research that. It was the inner fighting that really got us defeated. You know, the Romans really didn't have to. Not that we probably would have won, but the Romans wouldn't have got us. You know, stuff was prophesied and so forth. But without us knowing that, the Romans really didn't have to do too much because we was already fighting each other, and going back and forth. And you know, these, you know, not having self-discipline with these women also have brung down great kingdoms also. But I yield with that, man. Y'all brothers got anything?
Shalakia. And you know, I think that what we can glean from that as well is in a current climate, man. Like a lot of that inner fighting because of pride is have eventually will bring down kingdoms. Like these, like you said, the women's, you know, not being able to control yourself sexually, or you know, just the inner fighting, yeah, other nations ought to do much. You know, that's just a side note. Well, good lesson, brother.
All praises, all praises. Yeah, it's and like you saying, that current climate, man, you know, we doing that too, man. You know, and I'm guilty of that too. Of you know, these inner conflicts. You know, these inner conflicts. But you know, I ain't gonna take it to the enemy and get us destroyed. Like,
Right.
you know, I was trying to give correction.
Right.
But we are lost in this, you know, we can get lost in this correction. We can get lost in it, but it's needed. So it's you know, it's you have to learn how to balance these things out. And that's something I'm still working on myself. But you know, I can glean from that from what I'm seeing with these different captivities, man. We really went through three. You know, we transitioned from Babylon to Meds, to Persian Meds, to Greece. And so when we see these things, man, we have to see, man, we doing the same thing, man. We kind of doing, even when I look at the Bishop Yapta and Vocab Malone, like it's like, man, that's kind of close. You know, it's kind of close to what we seeing in the text, just on a base level. Though it's not really war, but it's more of a war of scholarship, more of a war of doctrines, rather than actual war, man. And again, sometimes these things are needed. Like I say, all things work about for the good for the Lord. But I yield, man. Brother Mike, you got anything? Are we good?
Nah, yeah.
All right, man. Well, you know, all praises. We pray this thing was edifying. And again, don't take my word for nothing. You know, if jokers had to go check Paul and make sure Paul was saying, and go in them scriptures and make sure Paul was saying what was right, or they could agree with it, man. If they had to check Paul, make sure you check all leaders. I don't care who it is. But definitely come behind me, man, because I done said some stuff wrong, man. And I'm probably gonna say some stuff wrong. Yeah. Go behind me, man. Hit the comment board, give correction, so forth. And yeah, man, we'll see y'all on Bring It Out TV. Wednesday. No, today is Wednesday. Friday, Shalaki.
Yeah. Yeah. Friday, 8 o'clock, man. We changed it to 8 o'clock. Friday, 8 o'clock.
Friday, change it to 8, con.
Okay.
With that, Israel, we say shalom, man. Hope y'all be blessed.
Shalom, brothers.
Shalom, family.